Good morning, gentlemen. Nice talking to you. Maybe we are sitting on the cusp of history, that's what I feel. Let me introduce myself. I'm Madan Singh, and I'm going to talk to you about the geopolitical situation in the world today. Well, gentlemen, I think we are sitting on the cusp of history, as I just said, and we are watching the complete eclipse of the United States as a global power. And the man responsible for it is, of course, Donald Trump. And it's a very sad moment in world history that the American hegemony over the world is coming to an end. And the country which has done this is Iran. I think Donald Trump is a bit of a maverick, and I don't know what title to give him, a court jester or a joker or a genius, I don't know. But the net result of all these three is that he has led the American nation to doom. And one of the reasons is the American nation, that is, the people, don't have the will to fight now. They're so much used to easygoing life that they don't want to give battle to anybody. And I think Donald Trump realized it. He didn't want to go into battle like in Afghanistan and Vietnam. And that result, as you all know, what's happened is that Donald Trump has thrown into trouble. Now there has been a ceasefire between Iran and the United States. I couldn't understand why the Americans went in for the ceasefire. It looks absolutely absurd to me because they hadn't achieved their objective. And their main objective was a regime change, number one. Number two, handing over of the nuclear fissile material to Americans or the neutral country. Number three, control over the Strait of Hormuz, and that should be handed over, and free navigation. And number four, more important, was that Iran will never make the nuclear bomb and will not be a belligerent nation. And last but not the least was they would stop funding the terrorist organizations which they've been funding for the last 20 years, that is Hamas and Hezbollah. So none of these have been achieved, and Donald Trump decided to throw in the towel. He didn't realize that when you bite the forbidden apple, you chew it. He didn't do that. He bit the apple, didn't chew it, threw it away, and now he's led America to doom. And you can well imagine the insults which have been heaped on the Americans when the recent meeting that took place in Europe between the Iranian delegation and the American delegation led by the vice president. It's very sad. The Iranian delegation refused to shake hands with the Americans. They said, we're going to shake hands with you. That's number one. Number two, they said, we're not going to have any photo session with you because you're all war criminals. And yet, we have the picture of Mr. Vance smiling away. I mean, I think he must have been under great pressure from Donald Trump to carry out this sort of photo operation. But then one has got to be realistic. And the realistic thing is that America didn't have the guts to fight Iran. And if you remember, when the first day the bombing took place and the top the Iranian leadership was obliterated, killed, including Ayatollah Khomeini, Donald Trump had made a statement that we're going to have a regime change and I would like a say in the man who's going to rule Iran. All very nice, very well, but then you need spunk to carry it out, and he couldn't do that despite all the bombing. Nothing happened. Because he forgot the cardinal principle of war, that you need the infantry soldier to hold the ground. And I thought he should have studied world history, military history, of the great generals, American generals itself, like Eisenhower, Patton, and then Field Marshal Montgomery and Marshal Zhukov. Could they have won the battle against Nazi Germany without resorting to the armed attacks by the infantry? Not possible. Anyway, he thought he was going to win the war like that, and he thought he was going to have another Venezuela where he had a ball of a time, captured the Venezuelan president, took him away and put him on trial. And he thought he's a great man. I have a bit of a laugh, on this issue, that he thought he's a great chap of this issue, and he thought every day is Sunday, and it would be the same sort of thing with Iran. But there they had a body blow, and 12 of the American airfields have been rendered hors de combat. I don't think those bases are going to be opened now. And one thing which has become very clear to the GCC countries is that America is not the country which can defend them. Let's be very clear about it. Despite the bombing on the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and other countries, including Qatar and Iraq, which the Americans could not stop, is a clear sign that America is not the nation that can save these countries. And now they have realized it, and they are paying tribute, billions of dollars, to the Iranians. Now America is still persisting despite the insults being heaped on them in the conference in Europe. They're still wanting peace. Want not peace, they just want that, well, somehow or the other we should get away. And they don't mind allying with the Iranians. And I think Israel would be well versed to remember that America never supports its allies. If you remember, what happened to General Chiang Kai-shek and the Kuomintang? They was fighting along with him for 40 years. And then finally they threw Kuomintang into the South China Sea when they made peace with Mao Zedong. So that's an example of world history. You throw away a ally which was with you for 40 years. And I don't think they're going to stand by Israel at all. Maybe by force, but they're trying to have peace. And there is no peace because now Iran is the equal of the United States. It should be very clear to everybody that the United States has lost military clout. You think the Americans have got the guts to fight China now over Formosa? I think if you say yes, then you must be living in what is called a fool's paradise. And do you think the Americans are going to go and win the war in Ukraine? I don't think so. It's the Russians who will win or lose, but the Americans have got no say in the war there, or peace or something is going to happen. Gentlemen, if you remember, Gorbachev, when he became president of Russia, he presided over the destruction of the USSR, a monolith state which broke up into 18 countries in 92. And Gorbachev didn't do it willingly. He did it by his own policies, which are totally haywire, which are not realistic. Russia was a totalitarian state. He wanted to convert it to a democracy, and he paid the price for it. Now in America, there is a big dissension on. I think Donald Trump knows this. His last 10 years trying to make a history in the world, but the history he is going to make, no doubt about it. He's going to make history because he's going to make history in the sense that he would be the last American president and would signal the demise of American power. How is the United States going to face these lies in the Middle East? How are they going to face them? There is no way. They have failed to protect them, and Israel has understood that if today they haven't been able to save the UAE and Saudi Arabia, do you think they'll be in a position to save Israel? Because there's something called the element of fear which is there in the Americans, and they're just wondering what the hell is going on, to have peace or something and make a fast buck. Now, Donald Trump is basically a businessman. He's looking for some more money. And money alone is not going to help the Americans. And he's prepared to release millions of dollars to the Iranians. He's prepared to even let them have missiles. He's prepared to let them keep their nuclear RC powder with them. I mean, he's agreed to everything what the Iranians wanted. And yet, the Iranians refused to shake hands with the American delegation. So, gentlemen, bear in mind that Iran has got a lot of pride, and they got their rockets still ready to hit the UAE and Israel. They'll do that. And I wouldn't be surprised what happens tomorrow if the Iranian Revolutionary Guard invades UAE, which is, I think, a distinct possibility. Is the Americans, like Donald Trump, going to go and position troops in the UAE to fight the Americans, to fight the Iranians? No way. And now Donald Trump has piped down even on Greenland. He's not talking about taking over Greenland because he realized that's a very foolish thing he has been doing. And now he would probably by now taken over Cuba, but his defeat in Iran clearly shows that he doesn't have the stomach for a battle in Cuba. So we are watching the demise of American power. Nothing to worry. The British Empire collapsed, the Ottoman Empire collapsed at some stage, the Mughal Empire collapsed, and the French Empire collapsed, the Portuguese collapsed, the Spanish Empire collapsed, and now the American Empire is going to collapse. But the sad part is the American empire has just lasted 80 years. It's a very short period in world history. If they had lasted some 200 years, there would have been some era. But here, by their own foolishness, they have, people like Donald Trump have ensured that American power collapses completely. I don't see how Donald Trump can look at himself in the mirror and still hold press conferences and say he has won the war. It's absolute perfidy, a lie. If you look at it, in my view, Iran has won the war and it's won the peace. The Americans won a tactical victory and they didn't win a strategic win. They couldn't achieve any of their objectives in Iran. And that is the fact, gentlemen. And it's a very, very sad occurrence because the whole premise of this entire, this imbroglio which was going on is Pakistan. I wonder how they selected Pakistan to be the catalyst to bring about peace with Iran. Pakistan is a terrorist state and harboring some 25 to 50 terrorist organizations who go around killing people. At the same time, it's got a tremendous internal insurrection on in the Balochistan province with the Baloch Liberation Army, and then they have the Taliban of Pakistan acting, as well as the Pashtuns in the northwest frontier. There's no way. Even in Kashmir, there's a tremendous uprising on against the Pakistanis. So the fact remains, gentlemen, selecting Pakistan beats my imagination. And Donald Trump, as usual, is singing praises. I mean, that's one of his pet things, that when you like somebody, you start singing his praises. And he's been singing praises of General Munir, who's a self-styled field marshal. He hasn't won a single war. I don't think he's going to win any, and he'll go into oblivion, into the dustbin of history. But Donald Trump probably will give him company. As the last American president, we saw the demise of American power. It's very, very sad occurrence that this thing has happened, but this is the reality, and I think I've come to the end of my video. I say what I wanted to say, and era is coming to an end, and Trump is moving in his last legs, including the Americans. I hope you like my video, gentlemen. Please share with your friends. Subscribe to my channel. Come back to me. It'll be a great pleasure that you subscribe to me. I will now say goodbye, but at the same time, I will reiterate what I've said earlier. Despite tremendous firepower, including positioning 2 aircraft carriers and whatnot against Iran, the net result has been big zero. I mean, you can't hide that. And now, the cost of the war is tremendous because one of their flagships, the American flagship Gerald Ford, the aircraft carrier, has been rendered hostage combat. I'm told it may not sail again. The cost is so prohibitive. And what happened, we don't know. But they were very clever, the Americans. They kept their aircraft carrier out of range of the Iranian missiles. Otherwise, perhaps they would have lost 2 more. And their army was just sitting there doing nothing, eating free rations, that's all. Well, gentlemen, goodbye and God bless.